Hi and welcome to Hitwise's webinar today. My name is Emma Moorman, I'm the Senior Product Manager at Hitwise, and today I'm going to be talking you through how to identify and reach your super customers. So let's start with what is a super customer. There's different nuances across different industries, different ways we would define them, but ultimately the super customer is the one that entails, your brand advocates. They spend more with you and they want to return to you. But that's a super customer in theory. How can we translate that into data and metrics? In this presentation, we're going to present 3 ways of using Hitwise data. So using engagement metrics to better understand how to identify those super customers, using frequency to think about how to reach them, and really looking at online behaviour to think about how to nurture and retain those loyalists. So firstly, how do we identify that super customer opportunity? We're going to use a couple of retail examples to show how engagement metrics can sometimes be better than volume-based metrics when identifying your brand advocates. In this example, we're looking at Gymshark, and if we only look at the volume-based metrics, we can see that Gymshark attracts and reaches a large number of 18 to 24-year-old females. But when we look at the engagement metrics, we can see that males in that age group visit and spend more time on Gymshark's site. That's looking at demographics, but let's merge this with some attitudinal data. So in this quick example for Uniqlo, their largest audience segment is the females 25 to 34-year-olds. And if we zoom into 2 consumer types using Kantar Media TGI variables, the label seekers, those that are interested in brand names, and then the comfort seekers, those that are interested in the durability, the comfort of the clothing, we can see that immediately that Uniqlo attracts a larger share of those label seekers. But when we flip it over to the engagement metrics, we can see they have much more engagement from the comfort seekers. So what? Well, these are just some simple retail examples, and I'm sure for any of your industries you'll be thinking about different ways you could apply this. But the key message here is that your largest audience isn't necessarily your best ones, the ones that you want to target. Those engagement metrics will help you unveil who is truly interested in your brand and who really is spending time with you and wanting to kind of deepen a connection. So next, once we know who our super customers are, how can we use search and clickstream data to reach those super customers? So we're going to use engagement metric frequency as our starting point. The ability to demonstrate engagement is crucial for the news and media industry. And with the next few slides, we're going to walk through how frequency was used to segment for a leading UK news provider. By segmenting their readers into 3 groups over a 12-week period of low frequency, medium frequency and that high frequency, this publisher was able to see that the low frequency was 10 times the size of the high frequency and the medium frequency was 3 times the size. By using search, we could then see what each group was interested in. So this chart shows the searches that each frequency segment made into business and finance publications. By looking at the difference, we can see that low frequency were much more likely to search for property in the euro topics. The medium frequency were much more likely to be searching for oil and China. And the high frequency group were much more likely to be searching for stocks and shares and bonds. If we layer that with clickstream data, this will help show us where each group goes to before coming through to your site. So for this news publisher, we could see that their low frequency group most relied on search, their medium frequency most relied on the news aggregators, and the high frequency most relied on social media, as well as swapping around other publications. So really to engage that lower frequency group, that high maybe higher volume but lower frequency, they'd be targeting search and thinking about the news aggregators. But to retain that high frequency, that real loyalist following, they could see that channel there was social media that was really going to help drive forward. So frequency is just a starting point, but connecting segments with search and clickstream data to build your targeting strategies for your content really builds the fuller picture of how you can attract those loyalists. In this example, this publisher could product a YouTube video on stocks and shares update or publish more articles on property market to drive up SEO for that low frequency group. I'm sure you'll be thinking about ways that you could bring this into your industry as well. So finally, we thought about identifying, we thought about how to reach them, but how can we keep those super customers engaged? Sometimes the answer's simple and we just build from there. We know why your loyalists go to you and we know why your loyalists go to your competitors. In this chart, we've just mapped out people who have a Tesco or Nectar card and have visited Tesco, Sainsbury's or Argos site within a 4-week period at the start of May this year. So we can see that have a similar exclusive audience of around 2.5 million. But when we zoom into that combined audience, we can see they have over 1 million people who have both cards, both the Tesco card and the Nectar card, and they've both engaged with Tesco, Sainsbury's or Argos within the same period. So that equates to almost a quarter of each of the loyalists there. So from the viewpoint of Tesco's, how could Tesco keep their loyalists engaged? How could they look at their recognised needs and shopping habits to think about identifying and connecting with those loyalists? So this chart maps out 3 segments against TGI variables: the regular healthy food shopper, the organic food shopper and the fair trade shopper. And we can have a look to see what the audience share is for each of those audiences. And what we can see is that for that exclusive Tesco audience, people who've only been to Tesco's in that period, we can see that they attract the highest share of the healthy food shoppers versus the Nectar audience, exclusive audience, who attract a much higher share of the organic and fair trade shoppers. So if we combine those recognised needs with actual online behaviour, and in this example around search behaviour, we can begin to identify those over-indexed search terms that are going through to Tesco, Sainsbury's and Argos by segment. So if we have a look at that Tesco's only audience, we can see that if as Tesco's, we can think about how can we really take care of our exclusive loyalist audience. We can use those unique searches around soy mints, edamame beans, for example, to really offer great rewards and special offers that really delight our loyalist customers. Thinking about from Tesco's again from that perspective, how can I go after that overlap audience? And when we look at that combined audience search behaviour and we think about ways in which we could use promotions to win back that audience, how can we bring them from being that overlap into that exclusive audience? And then finally, thinking about those conquesting tactics, how can we just look at that exclusive competitor behaviour, what's driving traffic through to our competitors and they're not coming through to us, how could we use that for conquesting? So again, looking at that search behaviour to run those conquesting tactics. So understanding what makes your loyalists tick and looking at their recognised needs and actual behaviours in order to keep them coming back to you, and thinking about how you can steal that all-important market share. So the key takeaways from this presentation is 1, is thinking about identifying your super customers, using those engagement metrics to really consider who are those high value customers rather than considering just the volume. Once you have identified those customers, thinking about how to reach them, looking at search and clickstream data to understand what's driving their behaviour, what they're interested in and where they're going. And then finally, how to keep those super customers engaged, understanding where else your customers are going and why, and what could you do to delight them and to steal that audience share. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please contact us on the email address below. Otherwise, have a great day.